Hey, what's up, and welcome in to Under the Hood with me, Jonathan Hood. Thanks so much for downloading the podcast. As we talk about the Bears and the Browns, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe and comment to the videos that we have. We've got plenty of content. Talked to a three-time Super Bowl champion and Gerard Cherry from ESPN Cleveland previewing the game. He had no idea it's going to be 20 below with the wind chill on Sunday. He's doing sidelines for ESPN Cleveland, so he's already like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So let's talk about this matchup here. We got plenty, though. Just go through the archives and check out a lot of our videos and our content. Also, listen to our podcast as well on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Ken Davis joins us here from That Davis Show. Follow him on YouTube. His description is in the his description is right here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. As always, Ken, we appreciate the time.
What's going on, Hoodie? How you doing?
You know how I'm doing. I'm down about the Packer game. I'm down that the Bears lost. I don't understand, Ken, how people are saying it's okay. It was just a little loss against the Packers. It's okay. We're close. Look, man, I need the Bears to beat the Packers. There's no. I don't need these participation trophies. This is not the IHSA, okay? Mm-hmm. This is the NFL. So I want to get your thoughts about that last game. Yeah, a close loss, but a loss nonetheless.
No moral victories. I think the funny thing, this goes back to 2 weeks ago when you and I were talking about the context of how the Eagles game, and if they lost, that there could have perhaps been a moral victory if they had fought them hard down the stretch and they ended up losing the game. But after they beat the Eagles in the manner they beat the Eagles, we all viewed the Bears as being on several levels probably higher than we thought, because we hadn't seen them face a team that was viewed as a contender for the Super Bowl, let alone the reigning champion in the NFL. So there's no more victory in losing to Green Bay. But you can still see that the Bears can match up against Green Bay, and Green Bay has a more well-rounded roster than what the Bears have. So that part of course, initially I was upset. But to sit there, and the funny thing is this too, you thought this, and I know that Bears head coach Ben Johnson came out and said this. You thought like, man, they're going to score a touchdown. Ben Johnson probably is going to go for 2, right?
Yes.
And in the past, I'll tell you this, I've been really upset with how former Bears coaches, the last 2, have gone for it on fourth downs, particularly forsaking field goals, when neither one of them had high-scoring offenses consistently, let alone the last regime. And it's like, you need all the threes you can get because you can't even get 6s, period. And then I know sometimes when you're looking at it in close games, but there are games where you end up squandering 9 points basically, and that can make up a huge difference because you kept going for it. You see it all the time with Dan Campbell with the Lions, where it was a game 3 weeks ago with the Lions that if he would have taken field goals, they would have won the game, or maybe 4 weeks ago, just watching it. So, but on the flip side of that, and the reason why I'm bringing it up, part of the reason that I felt like that is they never were good on offense to be able to get the damn fourth down, to convert the fourth down rather, right? I'm like, they go for 2. I think they're going to get it, right? Like, there's a different vibe that there's a sense of accountability isn't the word I'm looking for. There's a sense of accomplishment and what they can do. They can do this. So that's maddening because you're like, damn, they had the game. I know it wasn't a fluke or luck. They had them down and they were about to take it, and Caleb threw the ball away. I mean, he threw an interception. I mean, a lot of that falls on him. You could say they should have ran the ball, even though they were stopped to play prior to that. But we had seen in the fourth quarter they were able to run the ball because Green Bay was tired. Anybody that have eyes can see how they were huffing and puffing. And also, that's old school football. That's how when we were raised, it was real running backs exploit you in the fourth quarter because your defense is tired. That's how my dad raised me when he was talking to me about sports as a young child. Mm-hmm. So I'm with you. I want them to beat Green Bay, even though partially I thought there would be a split, and I'm not trying to give them an out. Jordan Love had a pretty good game. I did think he was going to have a turnover. I was looking for 2. But they got us. I mean, they got the Bears, and the Bears they let them go. What did Denny Green say? They let them off the hook.
Let them off the hook. Yeah,
they let them off the hook basically. But a lot of that falls on the quarterback. And we've talked about there's growing pains that are coming with Caleb, and there's a lot less fear that this is like emblematic of what you expect from him moving forward than this would have been if this was 6 weeks ago. You know, like this was 6 or 7 weeks ago, I'd be like, damn, he may keep making this type of mistake, where you start to see him now correct his mistakes game from game a lot more than you did in the past, where he was holding on to the ball too long and he wasn't playing within structure. So them coming down the stretch, no, I'm not going to sit there and say it's a good thing, but it is good that you can see they can match up against a team that has a better roster than them right now. When you're looking at what the Packers can do with their front seven, and the fact that the Bears can't do anything when it comes to really their front seven because their linebackers have been injured. And we've talked ad nauseum about their 4-down linemen and the lack of pressure that they have been presenting towards opposing teams' offenses.
I will tell you that the way that you can prove yourself is to bounce back after a loss. It doesn't matter how good or bad of a football team you are, Ken, when you can be able to have some resolve and bounce back from a loss, and you feel like if you're the Bears, man, we were this close. We should have been able to win that ball game. Okay, so now you got to take it out on the Cleveland Browns. Because the Browns are coming up on Sunday. I've heard the rhetoric about how this is a trap game. I do not believe in that, and here's why I don't believe in it. Ken, every game is important throughout. Every game now, because, the Bears were the number 1 team in the NFC, and now they're 7th. Just in 1 week, right? You lose to the Packers, you go from number 1 to number 7. That is how fleeting and how wide open the NFC is. So against the Browns, I know the Bears can't look past this. As a matter of fact, I heard Ben Johnson say that they are desperate for this win. I have never heard that rhetoric before or that term before, but Ben Johnson says they are desperate for the victory. So how do you see this? Because if you're the Bears, I see the 1-loss record. I know the Browns aren't very good, but man, you've got to get it done and keep getting it done so you can make sure that you're locked in for the playoffs.
Well, I'm with you. I don't think the Bears would have looked past them. They haven't been a team that I think plays to their competition like perhaps in the past they were a lot, where they were a better team, and teams that were lesser would come in and that they would play to that, the lower their standard. But also, even if you thought this was a trap game, that part is gone because they lost. And you were kind of inferring that they lost. So now and you just pointed out what came with them losing. So now if you want to get back in the race, let alone you have a chance to play Green Bay again, you have to beat the Browns. The Browns are one of the best defenses within the NFL. We all know Hall of Famer Myles Garrett. Their secondary has improved. Also, they're really good against the run. They've only allowed 200-yard rushers all year, with Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard last week rushed for like 160. So that right there. But again, the Bears have proven with good run defenses that they'll stick to the run, and they may not have gashes as far as 20-yard runs or 30-yard runs, but they can get 8 enough times, particularly in the fourth quarter, where they can win the game. You have a young quarterback in Shedeur Sanders who likes to put the ball up in the air, and that should aid the Bears in their benefit to create turnovers. So again, I think the Browns could be looking at this as an opportunity, but I think the Bears are a much better team than the Browns. So I have no question that the Bears should win. I'd be surprised if they didn't. And I would, depending on what happened during this game, unless there was a significant injury. But even if there's a significant injury, and I mean, really, the only significant injury I'm talking about and I'm not going to wood something happened to Caleb. Yeah. But I mean, I would hope Tyson Bagent can come in and take care of this. And I mean, like, just being honest with you, like, the Browns are suspect. They're a poorly ran franchise. That's why Myles Garrett wanted to get out, and they overpaid him. Them bringing in Deshaun Watson was tomfoolery at the highest peak of tomfoolery. They should this is when you prove what the standard is. And I think Ben Johnson is the type of coach to do it. Also, I think the players, these doesn't seem like a bunch of like just idiots or guys that jag off time. And if there are some guys in there that do that, I think the tenor of the locker room isn't that it allows them to show it on a continuous basis. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can do that at the crib. But in here, and this is me looking on the outside looking in, but I don't think they play games like that. I think the locker room, the accountability in the locker room seems to be better. You know what I'm saying? But I think this is to your point. We haven't really seen them since the Ravens game, really, and then the beginning of the year go through losses, and we haven't seen them go through losses with this high expectation. And that was kind of the thing we were talking about in past shows, to where we can really kind of gauge Ben Johnson's coaching, or how he could take his team from a loss and get them back up and get them ready to go again. Just like what they will say about like coaches, but particularly college coaches, where a good loss would be something they could use because then they can start applying pressure back to the players or whatever, because the players would kind of tune them out when they're winning and everything like that. You would hope that would be here. But again, I look to the players' accountability. I'd be surprised if they lost. I know, of course, any given Sunday is the cliche, but they should be able to beat the Browns. I won't say they should beat them drastically unless there's a lot of turnovers from the Browns offense, because that defense is still good, but we'll see. The Browns offensive line, if this was back in the day, put it like this, if this was the old offensive line, I have a lot of questions for how the Bears could come out of this game. I really, that'd be different with the Browns if they had the old offensive line. With this offensive line, I still think they're going to be able to create pressure on Caleb. But Caleb is probably, outside of Josh Allen, the hardest quarterback to bring down. And Josh Allen is bulldozing people while this is going on. Caleb is breaking all types of players' grasp. I mean, I just see them. I see them beating the Browns, particularly because they have this offensive line, and I think they'll be stout enough where the run game will be. It'll be an asset, and they'll be able to overcome the fact that the Browns have been very stingy when it comes up to giving up rushing yards.
I would tell you that I think that's a key point. I think on both sides, actually, in these temperatures, and it's supposed to be anywhere between 15 and 20 below with the wind chill, like it's going to be rough. So I think it's advisable to run the football as much as possible, right? I don't know what the wind condition, if it's going to be that cold, that the wind probably have an impact. So what we saw from the running game for the Bears, I like to see that against the Browns. I know the Browns have Garrett. It doesn't mean that you can't go to the outside to be able to get run plays, short yardage to get run after the catch. So I look forward to seeing that. Judkins on the other side, though, also runs the football well for the Browns. So I think that we can get some old school Big Ten football going early before you put the ball in the air.
Ooh, not Big Ten right now. Yeah, I agree with
old school Big Ten.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, and I mean, Judkins is on my fantasy team, and to your point, that's something that I actually do worry a little bit about what he could do. But again, the Bears have been bending up and don't break enough to where they haven't usually been exploited. They've given up rush yards, but it hasn't been to the point. I mean, what Jacobs was doing, that one play with Jacobs was so infuriating. It was so mad. And I think I may have heard you guys talking about it this morning. And it was just spot on with just like how upset I was just watching that, where three Bears were surrounding him and he got away, let alone the highest paid defender was right there. But yeah, stuff like that happens, but usually they've been able to withstand opposing teams' running game. So I think they're gonna win, Jay. I think you should chill, like the fact that you're gonna be in the house when they're gonna be out there and it's gonna be this cold. And really we should start looking for the Green Bay game, because they need to win that game just to really, not even just they needed to perhaps get into the playoffs. They need to do it to send a message back to Green Bay about what's up.
I want to know from you, Ken Davis, not the guy that's chill now, but the guy that was wild back in the day. I need to talk to that Ken Davis. So you're DJ Moore, but you're Ken Davis. And you're like, hold on a second. I've been through a lot of shit with Carolina as a wide receiver where I know that I'm good, but the quarterbacks weren't good. I'm with the Bears. I went through a lot with the Bears, and now I'm on a good team, and yet I can't get a touch. I get one play and I get blown up in the line of scrimmage, -4 yards, right, on a terrible screenplay. Give the Packers credit. They were right there on the doorstep to blow up DJ Moore. But if I'm DJ Moore, Ken, think about it. I look at the stat sheet at the end of the game and go, hold on, Duvernay got a touch. The third string tight end got a touch. And so I can't. So what does Ken Davis do if you are DJ Moore and you realize, wait, Odunze's out and I can't get more than just a few targets? What would you do?
I'm going to talk to Ben Johnson first. And this would have happened several times, because I think the fact that Rome is out, it intensifies it to where, and actually if I was him, I would point out, this is why I've been trying to talk to you for situations like that, when Rome either will be nullified by opposing teams or actually out, that we need to come up with something that fits me in this offense. It doesn't have to be exactly what I like, but it can be with what my assets play tribute to, because, and it's one thing I've been saying, he's not Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can't use him in those jet sweeps, those end rounds. It's not the same player as Amon-Ra St. Brown. You would think they would be. They're similar, but they're not. It doesn't seem like they're the same player. So I'll be talking to Ben Johnson and I'll be talking to Caleb. I'd be like, look for me. And the times where I feel like perhaps I am open often and he's looking away, I'm going to be on his ass to be like, dude, I was open right there. Give me the damn ball, because it doesn't make sense. It's infuriating, but also to some degrees, I think that happens with transitions with new coaches, to where players that were the player, and it's not a knock on BJ, not BJ, on DJ. The fit isn't right just yet. Perhaps it'll get better moving forward, particularly next season. But the fit hasn't been right. But I'll be mad. I mean, I think the funny thing, and when you say like a younger version of me, I will be trying to figure out how to do it and not look like a diva. And I mean, I know that being a wide receiver, you already kind of have that label on you, but also being a leader, you don't want to come off seeming selfish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it would be a fine line, even as a young kid, because I think I used to think of myself as a leader, being a young kid, where I wouldn't try to be like, this is about me. This is about me. I would, but I'm like, dude, I need the ball. Look, the offense isn't moving. Give me the ball. But I guess the flip side of it, I would definitely be the biggest cheerleader for everyone who's getting the ball. And I will make it seem like if we're winning, it's not a big deal. But I think the closeness of games, I would use that to the benefit of, with this game wouldn't have been as tight if in this example, you were getting me the ball. And, even if, like, I know, for instance, you want to try to get me the ball in the backfield, but let's look at ways to get me the ball a couple yards ahead, because, again, that just doesn't seem to be working. Even in the past, I mean, it worked a little bit initially when he got here, the screen game, but it hasn't worked as well consistently. So that's probably the way I go about trying to get the ball to help me, one, because everyone wants to be part of the winning. Like, that's not even being selfish. Like, you want to be able to say I had a part in that, but also you want your reps, because that's how you get paid too. You know what I'm saying? And you want to be that guy. It's the worst part not ending like this with him. Now you're on a winning team and you want all that comes with it. So you want your name, people to know, oh, you're a good player, but you want them to know you're a good player on a team that wins. You just want to be like, for instance, when Jordan came to the league and players was like, you can't win a title and lead the league in scoring because, for people that's too young, you weren't supposed to score that many points and and win. That was kind of a selfish style of play. And he was the person kind of changed that around. So that, that's the way I'll try to go about it, to implement my will on changing it so I can get the rock, so I can, score some TDs and smile and be on the TV.
The circle of trust offensively for Caleb is Rome, it is Burden, and it's Loveland.
Yeah. And you could throw a little Kmet in there, but I mean, I think you should have said Rome twice, and then like it's Rome. Rome. It is. And I mean, I think earlier in this year he definitely was looking. It seemed as if he was looking away from DJ. Let me say that. It seemed. I mean, it seemed like he was looking away from him. And there's no reason. There has to be times where clearly he's open. And if we believe Ben Johnson is the play caller and can design and scheme things up, clearly there are times where DJ's open and he's not either seeing him right away or he's not comfortable with going that way. I would hope Caleb isn't trying to do something out of just being a jerk. I don't think that makes any type of sense. So I wouldn't even infer that he was doing anything like that.
I know that the conversation we always have about the defensive line is one in which we say we like to have a little bit more pass rush. But I know that you can't have infighting because things are going well with the Bears. But I have to say to myself, if I'm a player in the secondary or if I'm a linebacker, it's like, man, can you just get a pass rush so I'm not on an island one-on-one against, wide receivers? Like, that was a mess where there was miscommunication, and obviously our secondary wasn't fast enough to catch up to the Packers wide receivers. But imagine if there was just a pass rush. If it ain't sacks, again, just a pass rush. Just one sack, one interception on Jordan Love. And imagine if the defensive line did their job, then this would not be such a stress on the linebackers and secondary. We saw that. It's one of the differences of a win and a loss for the Bears against the Packers. So I wonder how that changes coming up on Sunday against the Browns.
Funny thing when you say that, what triggers in my mind is the Bears, and a lot of times have led the opposing teams in time of possession, but that's with the opposing teams being able to. Maybe the opposing teams are scoring faster than the Bears, and the Bears, because the Bears have been running so long. Of course, you're going to take up time off the clock, which is a positive. But to what you're saying, they would have more possessions if they were doing this. And really, when you're talking about the DBs, I would be frustrated. But again, one, are you going to run up? I mean, maybe CJ Gardner-Johnson, and he's new here, so does he, have the equity built in to really say anything to some of these defensive linemen? But that's something they have to solve at the end of the year, because clearly right now. But I'll also say this: when you think about how Dennis Allen has been doing it, one of the key guys pulled up lame before the game last week, and that's Kyler Gordon. Yeah. I mean, that wasn't. He didn't even have Friday to think on Saturday and then Sunday morning what he was going to do. That was Sunday morning. Oh, he's not playing. Oh shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was going to send him on blitzes. You know what I'm saying? CJ wasn't going to be out there in coverage like that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Jalen had to probably be out there a tad bit more, and we see he's not really himself. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think he's used to what Dennis Allen wants, because he hasn't really been there just yet to kind of know what these guys are doing now. And then, look, this also probably isn't the same defense that they were in. I mean, he was beat up in training camp, but they were in training camp. I think the jargon probably is the parameters of what he wants, but due to injuries and the fact that they don't have a pass rush, I'm sure there are things that have changed throughout the season from what initially they were trying to implement in the offseason. And if you haven't been there, it's going to be hard to just come back and grasp it right away. I'm with you. I'll be frustrated. And clearly in the offseason, you got to spend a draft pick or two on a defensive lineman early. I mean, that's a given, to say the least, to try to remedy this, let alone if you're going to hope that Trey Hendrickson is confined to Fountain Youth after having a down year. I hope this down year is more of him being upset that they held on to him. I guess if you want to throw some more money at DE, you got to go ahead and do that also.
Ken Davis, were you on GN Sports just recently?
Last night.
Huh. With Jared Payton.
I was with Josh last night. Usually it is with both of them or a myriad of people. But GN still, just like you, GN still remembers me.
I thought I saw you on GN Sports. Huh? How about that? Huh.
Yeah. Good looking. See what you did? They got me on GN Sports. But they the first part. So I'll get out real quick. They asked me to come on. They asked me the day of, and I'm like, I cannot come. This wasn't yesterday. This was about a month and a half ago. And I was like, I'll do it via the internet, but I was using Edge instead of my usual browser, and it went out. And it was live. And I was so hurt for a day and a half. Like, oh my goodness. They did a great job of covering, but I was like, I'll come in the next time since that happened or whatever. And again, they always bring me back. Since a real quick shout out to Larry Howley, because he's not there any longer, but he was the person that initially reached out to me. And then I told him about some of my friends, and everyone kind of got a chance to. Our first time to appear on television was at Sports Feed, and I've had a good relationship with GN and those guys ever since.
See, folks, the people love the Bears acumen of Ken Davis. You see that? TV, YouTube, and tell people about your YouTube, by the way, while you're here.
That Davis, of course, and I will be coming up with more content. I'll be giving you some weekly content. I'll try to get to 2 shows, but I have to start giving you 1 weekly. And you'll see this guy over there several times in the future just to talk crazy. We may talk a little bit crazier over there, but also the Windy City podcast with Alex Shapiro, which I'm going to record as soon as we get off here. So make sure you tune into that preview game and post game and during the off season. So again, shout out to everybody. Shout out to you, of course. I always appreciate you putting the battery in my back and like, Ken, let's go. So sometimes you're lucky to have people to look out for you. That's the good parts about life.
Yeah, he's talking about GN Sports when he's talking about that, by the way. Ken, as always, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
I appreciate it. I'll see you guys then.
Ken Davis, talking Bears with us. Get in to see everybody. Yes, the Bears lost against the Green Bay Packers, but it doesn't mean that the Bears season's over. But I'll tell you one thing. I do like the fact that Ben Johnson talks about the urgency of this game against the Cleveland Browns. It's going to be cold out there. I expect the Bears to run the football well. I expect them to win the football game. This is no shot at Shedeur Sanders because he put up some big numbers against Tennessee. He's a young man learning the position just like Caleb is, but the Bears have to take care of their business. It's not just the Cleveland game. It's the Green Bay Packers game. It's San Francisco. It's Detroit. They've got to continue to play well, good football. I know they probably can't win them all, but you want to make sure that you've got your footing in the NFC and get yourself in the playoffs. Get in the tournament and then see what happens. By the way, everybody get in the sea. Support the Chicago Bears. By the way, we have our merchandise right here. Under the Hood merchandise. It's available right now. Go to my link tree and just click UTH merchandise and you're right there. We got plenty for everybody. Whether it's hoodies and caps and as well as mugs and so much more. Hey, support the podcast that you have subscribed to, Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. We got hoodies, we got t-shirts and everything else. Support the Under the Hood podcast. All right, as I mentioned, we got so much when it comes to our content here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to this video and everything else that we do on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. We will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for your support. So long, everybody. From Chicago.